digloid.com. Well, that's beautiful Dana Lake with Mount Dana in the background at 13,200, I think. It's a beautiful warm August day. Actually, it can be sunny and the water free of icebergs most years, but not this year. Let's talk about optimizing your focus stack, in particular that last infinity frame. Some cameras, like the GFX 100, just don't work with their focus bracket feature. And by that I mean they fail to reach infinity. They stop the sequence one frame short of infinity. I found that all Fujifilm GFX 100 variants, they all do this, and it's been that way for 5 years, and you're not going to get a fully sharp picture. How unsharp will vary, but it can be pretty bad to just detectable, depending. Sony has a similar problem, but tends to be more with field curvature in the outer zones. So how can you deal with this and get another bonus win at the same time? Well, let's take a look, but first I want to show what I'm talking about here. Let's zoom in this mountain, and here it is. I'm going to zoom, well, I'll just leave it there, I guess. So this is the frame that was the last of 4 of the focus bracket with the Fujifilm. And it looks sharp, right? Well, not really. Let's click on this guy, and you can see that's the last of the focus bracket. This is the frame I shot with focusing directly, and you can see it's noticeably more crisp. We're talking, I'm not sure well you'll be able to see this in the video, but we're talking sort of like the difference between 50 megapixels here and 100 megapixels here. It's a big difference. So this frame here, this last bracket, was the 404 of the focus bracket. MF means infinity manual focus. I focused over here somewhere, and then I shot the frame. But you might notice something else here. This one was shot at f8 with focus bracket, and this one was shot at f6.4. Why did I do that? Well, because diffraction is significantly damaging the micro contrast at f8 versus f6.4. So how can we make use of that? If we look at this scene, and we've done a focus stack, which I'm going to get to in a moment, roughly speaking, everything in this area that I've just selected, everything in there is covered by the last infinity frame. In other words, that f6.4 frame I shot. So I'll be able to paint over that entire area with not only a frame that was focused properly and actually is sharp, as we just looked at, but it's less affected by diffraction, has better micro contrast and sharpness than the focus stack frame at f8 would have, even if it had gotten to infinity. So when we go back to our focus stacking program here, this is Zreen Stacker, you can see I've focus stacked 4 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's this, and they're all at f8. And then the last frame is at f6.4, and that's the one that actually is properly focused at infinity, and also it's f6.4 instead of f8, so it's less damaged by diffraction. So if I say start retouching here, give it a second, what you'd actually end up doing is I've selected, come on, there we go. I've selected f6.4, and I would size up this brush. Where'd it go? It's a little jumpy on me, which is kind of annoying. Okay, oh, there we go. Okay, so I'd size up this brush. As you can see, it got it pretty large, and I would paint over this basically from everywhere from across that we looked at. I'm wiping it out with the f6.4 frame. So when I'm done doing that, and you can obviously, I want to do a little bit more by zooming in and finding these edges. In practice with this particular scene, I found I could get everything in the front of this iceberg area here, and even quite a bit closer. So I'd go in there and I'd hit all this stuff pretty closely. Okay, so essentially what I just done, maybe not perfect there, is this large area in the distance has been brushed over with this f6.4 frame, which not only was focused properly at infinity, roughly where that circle is in that area. I focused it there, and everything in this area is maximally sharp and at f6.4, not as damaged by diffraction. And so that's your double win. So what I'd suggest is always shoot an infinity frame that you focus. Make sure you have infinity, particularly with Fujifilm. You've got to do that, and to a lesser extent with Sony. It depends on the lens and a few other factors. Even cameras that don't get it wrong, the ones that get it right, like Nikon, you might still want to shoot, say, an f6.4 frame here for this distance area, so that you can use that one instead of the, say, f8 frame, just to get higher micro contrast and sharpness in that broad distance area. It's kind of let's call it a cheating method, just smart. Why not? Costs you one frame. So that's the way I do it to get the very best possible results out of my landscapes. I always shoot that infinity frame, and I shoot it at a more optimal aperture.